Hi everybody, I'm going to talk to us about who's afraid of the 2 hour mark. Because I've noticed time time lengths on movies and stuff, it's a very important deal. And sometimes there are movies that are just short on time or too long with time, and I have some things to say about that. Um, have you ever been to a movie where the length of time in the film was not just right, but it happened to feel too short or too long? You might wonder, what the heck were the filmmakers or the even the editors thinking? I mean, this could have used 10 to 20 more minutes, or this was so boring. They should have cut a lot of these things, and the movie would have been fine without them. So it feels like sometimes our movies have gotten to the point of finding the lowest common denominator for their audiences. Like, which audience? Maybe the short attention span audience, or they add length with the Follywood stuff, sex, constant language, hundreds of f-bombs, and just other things to keep the movie flowing forward and stuff. Or they just have bad writers. The problem is this happens way too often, and we don't get many good movies anymore. That even critics can hardly agree to give a movie an overall 4-star rating. I mean, have you noticed that a lot of the movies are like 2.5 stars now? Um, I mean, it's either that or lower, except Marvel movies or Star Wars. Marvel movies, oh wait, yeah, the public likes those, not really the critics. So who are we to agree with the critics anyway? But you know what I'm talking about. But what the heck am I talking about? I think length and time in movies can play a huge factor in how good a movie can or cannot be. I look back at the movie cover and I usually cringe if live action, especially for an adult movie, says that it's 80 to 90 minutes because I personally feel that it's going to be a rushed movie. But then, do I really want to sit with a 2.5 hour movie for some movies if it's going to bore me? So both sides have problems. What is the problem with movies that are so long that it could have been cut or are too short that they could have added? Let's look at a few for examples. Um, and let's start with the short ones. These movies sometimes can have great trailers, the short ones, but they give away everything because that's the best it can show in its short running time. Uh, let's see. Season of the Witch. Big production value, visual effects, Nicolas Cage. Okay, it is gonna be corny anyway, but the only thing that was even remotely good in here was its action. Everything else was boom, a scene, boom, another scene with 2 lines, boom, another big scene with 3 lines, and so forth. But, like, those lines, they didn't deliver. They just didn't deliver well. It was so fast paced, and I'm sorry, the production of this scale asked for something that could have had another 30 minutes in here to make it even remotely interesting. Same with Priest. I say ditto to this movie, although there was a few more lines, and oh, what a short 80 some minute length of time. It had a good climax sequence, but if the movie had been paced the same as the climax sequence, it would have passed, but it rushed too fast. X-Men 3, The Last Stand. What the heck happened to this movie? It was as long as the first one, which was good, but the second one went over 2 hours. The third one should have kept its deleted scenes and not been afraid of getting near or over that 2.5 hour, no, that 2 hour mark like its predecessor. The second half was okay, but that first half was horrible. It rushed and we barely got time with characters and stuff like that, and the new characters too. Angel, for instance, hardly even got a minute of screen time in the entire thing, and Mystique and stuff. The remake of Carrie was okay, but again, it kind of rushed, and you could tell it was made for a modern audience for short attention spans. I saw the deleted scenes, so it's like, oh my gosh, they could have used all of this stuff. I saw in an interview they cut all that stuff for the sake of runtime. I'm like, really? If you have to cut your movie for sake of runtime, then why did you make it to begin with? No, if it has to be said, just let it go forward. It would have been so much better if it had slowed down and not sped, and that prom massacre only lasted 2 minutes compared to the 7 minutes in the original and the previous remake before it. Thor, The Dark World. While I did enjoy this movie, had one major problem with this. Those action sequences just went by so fast. Boom, the attack happened, and boom, it was over. Even in the end, it would like last only 4 minutes. I mean, couldn't it have been like Captain America: The Winter Soldier, where like these last at least 10 to 15 minutes? And oh my gosh, The Winter Soldier proved that they weren't afraid of pushing the limit on time. But I guess someone out there thought that, oh, we need the attention of the people. If they stay here only a few minutes more, they're going to get drained and whatever. So whoever say, well, my instructions say the normal movie should be 90 to 100 minutes long, so let's work it for there. No. No, no, no. Oh yeah, did anyone see the last Fantastic Four? That could have used another half hour too. I'm not sure even if that would have saved it anyway, because that was really bad. So, here are other rushed honorable mentions. Stay Alive, Jurassic Park 3, This Means War, things that could have used a lot more, but didn't you notice they were rushed, all of them? How about long ones that were really bad? Aragon? This could not have ended soon enough. While this had a bunch of short scenes, this used everything we had seen or heard in Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and recycled it for the bag of trash that it was. Going way too long, this could have used like 30 less minutes. Didn't have to be done at all. So, in another sense, it wasn't the running time that really killed it, it was also the story, but as I'm getting through this, time does factor into making a movie good or not as well. Rubber. It's about a tire that like takes life and starts killing everything. While it sounds a little interesting, and this was like only an 80-minute feature, it went on and on and on and on. I mean, it starts with a person saying that there's no point, and then since we have that feeling throughout the whole thing, you are thinking, why am I here? What is the point of all this? It couldn't, even 15 minutes less of that just couldn't fly. Titanic, personally, I thought dragged. It could have been more interesting and focused on the history instead of the love stuff, the love storylines, the soap operas and stuff, even though it won 11 Oscars. Insidious Chapter 2. Did anyone notice that, like, boom, the mom searches around the house one time, and then for several minutes, and then another time the grandma moves around the house, and nothing really happens. And then again, the mom later looks around the house slowly, and something really scary happens, the big jump scare. And then we go to the hospital, and we go to a house, and we have all these things that just fill up time. It's like, okay, we get it. Move forward. This did not need 6 times that we are just slowly walking through some place dark, looking for a ghost that possibly might be there, or make you gasp, or make you see some information that you could have used several minutes before. Anyway, let me see. So, what are good examples of short movies? Toy Story. Not many people realize that this is only 80 minutes long, but they have so much in that movie that it was perfect. They got all the characters, several characters, all their storylines down, all the funny lines and everything, the main storyline. They got everything in such a short span of time. And it feels like a 100-minute movie in there, but it's great, it's fun, and it goes through. Fargo, that's a 90-minute movie, and the main character doesn't even come until like 37 minutes through the 37 minutes through the start. And the plot twists were so interesting in that, and yeah, it began, boom, we had a problem, and then they figure it out, and wow, that was it. Red Eye, that's only 85 minutes long, and it had one simple storyline, and we had every problem through that, and they did it very well. And yeah, Devil. I'm not crazy about this movie, but it showed that you didn't have to have too much to make a good movie. Sure, it could have been the length of a TV episode movie, but it used all it could, and I liked that. And at 80 minutes, it wrapped everything up nicely. Gravity was only 90 minutes, and my gosh, that relentless 90 minutes could not end fast enough for our beating hearts, the whole thing. We wanted it to end now. We wanted her to get out of that situation, and oh man, it was from the get-go. Good long movies, the Harry Potter series. I always say, this proves that we can, especially children, can sit through 2.5 hours of several movies in the theater. So don't give me time constraints. Oh, we have to keep it at 100 minutes because that's the normal, 90 to 100 minutes. We can get through it. Ben-Hur, you needed everything in this. Otherwise, you wouldn't have. Like, could you imagine Ben-Hur being an hour and a half or 2 hours? We would not have gotten the heart of the story, especially from the feelings that we have from the beginning to the feelings that are completely reversed at the end. Lord of the Rings. Imagine these being 2 hours long or an hour and a half. Nope. Here's the big point. The extended versions proved that we needed all of those scenes over the originals. Star Wars. Each of these were 2 hours long or longer, and we ate every minute of it. So, heck, we even wanted more. Avengers, because if we didn't even make it to 2 hours with Avengers, all the characters that were in there, we wouldn't have had enough time with them. Ratatouille, oh my gosh. Like, do you know how many characters are in that thing and how many story arcs and lines are in that thing? They needed all of that for that 2 hour runtime. So where am I going with this? If there is such a mix with the lengths of times, then what is the problem? I think the problem is the fact that people either overdo or underuse their products and not see the full potentials of their products. There may be an element also of not paying attention to what the public really wants to see. I've been saying that about the Oscars, and that could be a different subject. Because if the Oscars would just choose the movies that people see instead of what only the critics like, then they would have a lot more of a TV audience. But anyway, look when you make a story that there is a general structure that you have to follow, but don't water down or overdo your project. See what the project actually is. Don't be afraid of the rules. Don't follow all the rules to a T. Expand them or break them down. If it goes over 100 minutes, then fine. If it goes 80 minutes and you can't put anything more into it, then don't add it anymore to make it drag. And if it goes 2.5 hours, don't cut it just for the sake of, well, people don't like sitting that long for a movie. Trust me, it needs all of it. Because the whole story that is good and needed can't be cut or made short anymore. So if all else fails, and if you have trouble with your project, then get other people's opinions and see where they generally lead, and do what you feel your audience is gonna want, which is pretty tough, especially if you're going to a mainstream audience for like the entire US. You're gonna have a lot of mixed reactions, so you're not gonna please everybody, but realize the rules in filmmaking, you don't have to follow them to a T. There is the general structure you have to do, but have fun with your project, see what it is, and whatever the finished product is that you've edited as much as you can, or you see that you need to put more in, do it. Alright, I hope this video helps, and I'll see you later maybe with another video on my YouTube channel in, I don't know, a week or two or whatever, and find another topic that we could talk about. Take care.